sources by the government. They refuse to tell us. And every time I'd come across a government report that seemed to be, this is what I mean about the first line of Anna Karenina, the truth is always the same. The lies are lies in their own ways. So you'd start reading the report. I'd think, hallelujah, here it is, a report titled, immigrants, how many immigrants are in prison? And then you start reading the report, and every year except 1925, Hispanics are counted as white. That's one report. Another one, the GAO, the congressional investigators had to ask the GAO to count, to tell us, because the Department of Justice didn't have it. The Bureau of Prisons didn't have it. So the GAO, they've done a couple of massive investigations, but on closer examination, they're counting illegal and legal immigrants, which I think we should do, in the federal prison. But in the much larger state system, they're counting only illegal immigrants for whom the states have requested reimbursement, only illegal immigrants for whom the states have requested reimbursement who have committed at least one felony or two misdemeanors. We're not getting anchor babies. We're not getting the children of the ones, not even the children, but the ones amnestied by Reagan. No, I want to know. I think we have a right to know, and I think the last few weeks, now that, thank you, Donald Trump, he's brought it to the fore, and the shooting in San Francisco, people are thinking, yeah, how many are there? Incidentally, I spent the weekend and a lot of money looking up these reports. I don't know if I'm sure you've seen some of this. Liberals keep aggressively asserting on TV, well, studies show immigrants commit less crime than Americans do. Now, I know that's not true. What I don't know is how they're lying. So I wanted to know, and I try to get the reports. Well, first of all, you ought to be suspicious that one of the arguments they're making is, well, New York City has a lot of immigrants, and I don't see a lot of crime here. That's not a study. That's not science.
User left your channel.
It's retarded. And, Geraldo was making that argument with me, and Geraldo is not a stupid man, so the facts must not be very good. But anyway, I try looking for the studies, and I put in, sometimes you'd get a reference to the name of a researcher, and then I was looking on Nexus to try to see where are these studies, can I see what they're saying? And you'll get a professor from such and such a university, well, I just did a study, and it turns out first-generation immigrants commit far less crime than Americans. But they're all hidden. I'd track down the study. They're all hidden behind paywalls. And, I'm already paying for Scribd, for Nexus, for a billion different services. So first I wasted 2 hours thinking, come on, you're not going to make me pay $50 for this crap-ass study. But, yeah, I had to keep paying $50 just so I could skim down, find out what the lie is, which is what I'm probably going to tell you all about in my column this week, but I'll tell you right now. They are not looking at Americans. They are looking at criminal Americans.
Yep.
They have different ways of doing it, but one guy, and the big headline, and he's being quoted in the Dallas Morning News and the New York Times. Well, my study showed first-generation immigrants far less crime than Americans, the native-born Americans. So then you see what he looked at. He's looking at the trajectory, as he says. So the base population were juvenile offenders. So this is someone who has already been convicted of a crime, which he admits, well, my base study began with 45% blacks, 33% Hispanics, and 15% whites. That's not a cross-section of America. That's a cross-section of our criminal population. The other ones will, pick a city at random and look at the native-born Americans versus immigrants. Let's take Detroit. What? Wait, I'm sorry. Do you think I'm not going to point out that the black underclass has a very high crime rate? Because I'm going to point it out. No, I'm thinking we want immigrants to have, to not just beat the black crime rate. I want them beating the Norwegian crime rate. Why should I'm skipping all past this, all lies. I'm skipping past this to get to the point. Why are any criminals coming in? No, we have our own criminals. We don't need more. Because, again, the topic sentence on any discussion discussion about immigration. It is a government policy like any other. It ought to be used to benefit the people here. If you are bringing in one child molester, one drunk driver, one person who needs government services or English language lessons that are going to have to be paid for by the taxpayers, that is not helping the people already here. I mean, there's ones they keep talking about, you know, the hardworking ones that don't commit crimes, and, you know, they're working so hard and supporting their family of four and sending half of their $8 an hour salary home, and, you know, that's fantastic. They're very admirable. But how does it help America? No, it doesn't. They're using schools and services and hospitals and medical services and the housing aid, and they're sending, immigrants to America, both legal and illegal, are sending $20 billion back to Mexico every year. That's funding Carlos Slim, who saved the New York Times from bankruptcy, another chapter in my book. You know, Carlos Slim makes money off of immigration, especially illegal immigration, to the United States. $20 billion, that is a cost of immigration you will never be told about. $20 billion being sucked out of the American economy. That is money that will never be used to buy an American product, to hire an American worker, to purchase an American house, or tip an American, busboy. No, that is just being sucked out of the American economy. We ought to just, tax Americans. I mean, it takes a circuitous route from American taxpayers to the U.S. government to the low-wage immigrants who need the support from the taxpayers. That's why they can take those low-wage jobs, who, lives in an apartment with 5 other immigrants and then sends it back to Chiapas, his grandmother, who then buys Carlos Slim products. Carlos Slim owns 40% of the companies on the Mexican stock exchange, so he needs that money in Mexico. They then buy a Carlos Slim product, and it goes into Carlos Slim's pocket. So can we just, write a check to Carlos Slim?
So for people who don't know, and I didn't know until I read your book, Ann, can you tell the kind of the story of American immigration? Because you referenced it earlier. Obviously, for me, as a Jew, that means that my great-great-grandparents got here in 1907, I believe. And so the easy thing is to buy into illegal immigration bad, legal immigration good, because my grandparents and great-grandparents came legally. Can you explain why that is no longer the case, why even legal immigration needs to be curtailed?
Yes, and by the way, your people are great other than the way they vote.
Hey,
really, a lot of brains, really helps the country.
The ones who vote that way ain't my people.
That's true. Well, it used to be, as Ben and I'm sure his grandparents are an example, pre-1970, immigrants were, as any immigration policy would require, better than us. That's what we want. We want immigrants way better than us. Immigrants pre-1970 were more educated, made more money, bought more houses, and 30% of them went home. Just take that fact alone. 30% of them couldn't make it and went home. We looked out across the world and skimmed the cream from the rest of the world. Unfortunately, the 1965 Act came at the same time as the Great Society programs, when America was transformed into a massive welfare state. Well, that is obviously going to change not only the sort of immigrant you're getting, the 1965 Act did that through a series of complicated rules to bring in people from cultures as different from ours as possible and as poor as possible, because again, they'll work for the rich and they'll vote Democrat. Nobody goes home. Why would anybody go home? Go on welfare. And they are voting 8-2 for the Democrats.
So what do we do about the H-1B visa issue? Because you talk about this, because Ted Cruz is very good on immigration, except for, according to you, legal immigration and H-1B visas. H-1B visas are high-tech visas for people who don't pay attention to this stuff very closely. So can you explain the problem with the H-1B visa process and why even that needs to be curtailed according to your book?
Yes. A lot of Republicans get stuck on this issue, so I won't attack Ted Cruz for it, because so many people, I mean, I keep having to, I'm going to have to get like a shock collar for Sean Hannity and a few other people who interview me, because they keep talking about illegal immigration, other than the first chapter of my book where I talk about amnesty, because that just ends the country overnight. Then it's lights out. The rest of my book doesn't particularly distinguish the Hmong immigrants up here in Fresno and out in Minnesota engaging in massive amounts of human smuggling, child rape, credit card theft, shooting hunters because they don't understand private property. This is explained with great sensitivity in the Minnesota papers. No, they're all legal immigrants. The Somalis voting for